You're not free to speak, you're free to repeat what's allowed. Let that sink in, because that one line might just be the truth behind every cancelled creator, every flagged post, every algorithmic shadow ban, and every carefully worded apology we have seen in the last 5 years. We like to believe we live in the age of ultimate freedom. Tweets go viral, protests spread globally overnight. Anyone with a phone can speak to the world. But here's the catch: you can say anything as long as it fits inside a box, a carefully defined, ever shrinking box. Cross the line, and suddenly you're dangerous, you're misinformation, you're hate speech, you're deplatformed and silenced. We used to think censorship was something authoritarian governments did. China, North Korea, Iran, places where speech is literally policed. But what if I told you the free world, the West, the liberal democracies, the defenders of the free speech have built an even more effective censorship machine, one that doesn't need jails, one that works not through fear but through shame, cancellation, and algorithmic exile. One way you censor yourself out of fear of being wrong, offensive, or simply different. This is the story of how freedom of speech died quietly and nobody noticed because we were too distracted fighting each other over who deserves to speak. Once upon a time, the idea of free speech meant something radical. It meant protecting the right to offend, to protest, to criticize the government, to say things most people disagreed with. It meant saying, I may disagree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. Today, the idea is dead. Now we say, I support your free speech, but not hate speech, not misinformation, not conspiracy theories, not if it hurts someone's feelings. And slowly, free speech became a marketing term, something companies and governments claim to support but never actually allow when it threatens their narrative, their money, or their power. Take social media. These platforms were built on the promise of open expression. You control your voice, your platform, your truth. But in reality, your reach is controlled by code, invisible code, a machine you can't argue with, can't question. You think you're posting freely, but only certain views get posted, the rest are buried silently. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is happening. TikTok shadow bans content with certain keywords. Instagram suppresses sensitive political content even if it's true. YouTube quietly demonetizes controversial but factual videos. Twitter or X under Elon Musk claims to be about free speech, but even their government and advertiser pressure still dictates what trends and what dies. And here's the most terrifying part: most people are okay with it. Why? Because they've been convinced that free speech is violence, that disagreement is hate, that saying the wrong thing makes you evil, that silencing the bad guys is noble. But who decides who the bad guys are? Let's go back in time. Remember COVID? The pandemic didn't just infect our lungs, it infected free speech. In the early months, anyone who said lab leak theory was instantly flagged, demonetized, branded a conspiracy theorist. Fast forward to 2023, even the FBI admits it was a possibility. What changed? Not the facts, just the narrative. But those who speak early, those who questioned the masks, the vaccines, the lockdowns, they paid the price, not because they were wrong, but because they spoke before it was allowed. Free speech isn't free when you have to wait for permission to say what you think, and yet world clapped because the people censored weren't popular, weren't mainstream. Maybe they were annoying, maybe they were wrong on some things, but does that mean they don't get to speak? That's the central lie of our time. Some people deserve a platform, others don't. But who decides that? The government, the tech companies, or the mob? Because here's the thing: once you allow speech to be filtered by emotion or trend, no one is safe. Today they cancel someone you disagree with, tomorrow it might be you. Now let's talk about self-censorship, the most dangerous form. It's not about what you are allowed to say, it's about what you are too scared to say. Maybe it's that opinion you hold about gender or race or politics or religion. You want to post it, you type it, then you delete it. You tell yourself, not worth the drama. That is the death of free speech, because the goal of censorship isn't to stop you from speaking, it's to make you police yourself. And that's how tyrannies are built. Not with guns, not with chains, but with the shame and silence. Now let's get to the real question: what even is free speech? Is it the right to speak your truth even if it offends? Or is it the right to only speak what is correct, kind, and safe? You can't have both. If your freedom ends where someone else's feelings begin, then you're not free, you're regulated. And here's the biggest irony: many of the people demanding censorship today were yesterday's rebels, the progressives, the artists, the comedians, the radical thinkers. The very ones who benefited from free speech now want to gatekeep it, because once you are in power, you no longer want freedom, you want control. And it's not just America. In the UK, comedians are being investigated by police for jokes. In Germany, political dissent is labeled hate speech. In India, journalists are arrested. In Canada, misgendering someone might land you in a legal trouble. Across the world, truth is being outsourced to fact checkers, but the facts aren't always neutral. They are chosen, filtered, and prioritized. And in a time when misinformation just means something the mainstream disagrees with, even the truth is dangerous. This isn't about politics, left or right, woke or conservative. It's about principle. Today it's their voice, tomorrow it's yours. You don't have to agree with someone to let them speak. In fact, that's the point. Free speech isn't meant for things we all agree on. It's for the things that make us uncomfortable. If we lose that, if we trade freedom for comfort, we don't just lose the internet. We lose democracy, we lose debate, we lose growth. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you changed your mind because someone silenced you? Probably never. We change our minds through arguments, through listening, through engaging, even when it hurts. That's what real growth looks like. Not safe spaces, not content moderation, not trigger warnings. But here's the sad truth. Most people don't want to think. They want to feel good. They want their views echoed, not challenged. And companies know this. That's why the algorithm shows you what you agree with, not what you need to hear. We are living in echo chambers, each of us in our own reality, each of us believing the other side is crazy, evil, and dangerous. And the result, the center disappears, the extremes grow louder, and the speech becomes war. Now let's talk about cancel culture. Cancel culture isn't accountability. Accountability says you did something wrong, apologize, improve, let's move on. Cancel culture says you're evil, you're done, we'll ruin your life forever. It's not about justice, it's about punishment, and it's spreading like wildfire. From Hollywood to high schools, people are terrified to say anything. One wrong joke, one bad take from 10 years ago, and it's over. Your job, your reputation, your future. That's not freedom, that's surveillance. Everyone's watching, everyone judging, everyone waiting for you to mess up. And it doesn't stop with speech, it spreads to thought. Soon, it's not just what you say, it's what you believe. The wrong opinion becomes a crime. And the scariest part, people accept this. They call it progress. They call it safe. But safe from what? Free speech was never meant to be safe, it was meant to be sacred. So what do? We defend speech even when we hate it. We listen even when it offends us. We speak even when it's risky. Because the cost of silence is far greater than the cost of being wrong. A world without free speech isn't just a quieter world, it's a weaker world. A world where innovation dies, where truth hides, where fear rules. And that's not a world worth living in. So the next time someone says you shouldn't be allowed to say that, ask them, what if someone said the same about you? Because free speech isn't about protecting the majority, it's about protecting the minority, the outcast, the rebel, the one voice in a million that dares to challenge the system. And if we lose that, we don't just lose our voice, we lose our soul. This was not just a video, it was a reminder that the freedom to speak is the freedom to think, to disagree, to exist. If that makes you uncomfortable, good. It means you're still alive in a world trying to automate your thoughts. I'm Izhan, and this is Unzhanic, where we don't chase trends, we challenge them. If this hits something deep, don't just like it, question it. Drop your thoughts below. I read everything, even the ones that hurt. And if I disappear from my feed next week, you'll know why. Till then, stay loud, stay curious. Bye.